Good evening. Trying to make it all extra. Okay. Let me go ahead and pause it. Good evening, you guys. So if you're just tuning in, I will put the link below so that you can go to the YouTube and join the live. It is in the comments. So if you are seeing this on the Patreon and you want to join into the live feed, go ahead and click the link in the comments. We're going to be telling ghost stories this evening, and I'm going to be also talking about ghosts since that was our journaling prompt. And I have this little spooky candelabra, and I have dressed up for you guys since we are going to be telling the ghost stories. So I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to do this by candlelight, of course, and regular light, because, you wouldn't be able to see anything if I turn them off. So as it gets darker, you'll see more of a candle glow because I don't have a ring light. I just have other lights. So y'all go ahead and comment when you guys arrive. And it's kind of strange because there's not a lot of people in here. So I'm just going to be talking until I see comments or a question or something. But as you guys know, excuse me, we have been doing the first prompt was ghosts. So I wanted to show you guys my journal. It's just an old sketchbook that I had already started. But if you want your own journal, I do have some for sale on my Level Up stationery store. It's going to be linked below in the description of this video, and I'll also post it in the group. So here's some of my writing. I know it's kind of all over the place. I left some blanks so that I can insert pictures and stuff later, or leave room to decorate. So here is my ghost entry. So I'm just going to read a little bit to you, and then we're going to go into some ghost stories. Ghosts are not just for spooky stories around Halloween or a campfire. Ghost stories have become a worldwide phenomenon. So many people have claimed to have seen a ghost or apparition of some sort. I've experienced in my past a few strange occurrences. Yes. What so many people want to prove now is that their experiences are able to be explained scientifically. Spiritually, ghosts have been explained for thousands of years. Now, more recently, the scientific study of energy in electromagnetic plasmas have been now associated with the paranormal. Creating a ghost or spirit with the electromagnetic energies of a person's energetic blueprint almost seems impossible, but I'm sure it is much easier to replicate the energetic makeup or frequency of a person than it is to create a physical genetic clone. Okay, I just got scientific on y'all for a second. So that's how my mind starts to go into the scientific aspect of things. When a person has lived for a while, especially if they have been a very influential person in society, their energetic blueprint has been spread so much throughout their peers, family, environment, and if they're famous, social media, TV, radio, albums, art, photographs, whatever. Throughout, centuries, especially if they're well known, thousands of years, even more than that sometimes. Energy forms patterns over time and are spread out like a ripple in water, making more and more ripples. So when one sees their deceased loved one or a ghost in the hallway or something like that, it could be just an energetic, physical particle that has remembered their essence. So this is the words that I'm using. So let's get into the spooky part of it. I'll tell you guys some of my ghost stories. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to show you guys some more of my journal. So I have like this adult coloring book of like old Victorian homes, and I figured this would be a great add to my journal since it looks like where they perform seances. So we're going to talk about that too. So I'll tell you guys a ghost story that I have experienced. And if you guys have been on my channel for a long time, you already know. And I'm pretty sure you've heard this one before. Okay. So my first ghost and paranormal experience. I remember it because I was probably 1 or 2 years old, maybe two or three at the most. It was back in the 1980s before Thriller even came out. Okay, so this was not in my head already. I was visiting a relative in the hospital with my family. As we walked down the hallways of the hospital, I noticed how full the hospital was. So many people walking in a small hallway. The people were a mix of visitors, doctors, and patients. I asked my dad to put me on his shoulders because I was so afraid of getting lost in that crowd. With the bird's eye view of the crowd, I noticed some people were very badly injured. I saw one man with bandages wrapped around his head, with his brains exposed and flies just landing on the brain tissue. The man seemed fine, but his injuries seemed strange, as if he felt no pain. Later on, as I got older, I learned about basic anatomy and death, as well as deathly injuries. I then realized what I had witnessed as a child was a hall filled with people, doctors, and ghosts. So the background story to the hospital was a haunted hospital. The hospital was Jefferson Davis Hospital in Houston, Texas, and it was built over an old Civil War Confederate cemetery of dead soldiers who were slaves. Like some of the slaves that fought on the Confederate side, were buried in this cemetery. And they never moved the bodies. They just built over the land, and some of the tombstones or the flat ground stones are still there. So as well as so many other places around that general area. So born near and in hospital that was over a cemetery. So that was very strange. If you look up Jefferson Davis Hospital, Houston, Texas, it's one of the most haunted places in Texas. So check it out. I think they created some like trendy loft apartments in that hospital now, which I would not live in. Okay. So my next paranormal experience would be being touched on my leg while in bed and no one else in my room. I felt something literally not just touch barely, but like almost grab, but not in a violent way, just like touch my leg. And as if they were, physically human. I could feel that. I ran and told my mother, and she was like, "Oh, you just need to pray." And so I was like, I don't think that's going to help. But that's kind of when I started my journey on, figuring out and, the strange occurrences because no one could give me answers. So I see a few people have come in. So y'all make sure you leave a comment in the live so I know y'all are here. So, but welcome everyone. So that hospital is, you could just look it up. There's pictures online. And I even have a book that features the hospital. So it's called Weird Texas. So let me look it up real quick and I'll show you guys. Got it. The name of this book is Weird Texas. So and when I'm done with the video, I'll put all the books that I show you guys in the Patreon. So here is the front of the hospital. It had been abandoned for a long time. This is the front. And I remember my friend was younger. She used to go down there when it was a vacant building and walk around inside. And she said a lot of homeless people lived in there. But like they draw like weird stuff everywhere in there, spray paint. And there's a lot of photography in there. So yeah, that was a different building. Okay, so this one is it. This is the front of it. They don't show the whole thing, but that's just the front of it. We all go check out the Jefferson Davis Hospital. There's 2 hospitals, and they're kind of built very close to each other too. So, so I was going to break down what ghost symbolism means, and then I'm going to get into a few ghost stories that I have for y'all as well. I just gave one ghost story from when I was a kid, walking around in that hospital when it was fully open and functioning. Okay, symbolic meanings of ghosts. According to psychologists, dreaming about the ghost of a dead friend or loved one may be an indicator of guilt or regrets about the relationship you had with that person. So that's what the psychologists say, yes. In an old folklore, to dream of a friendly ghost was a sign of good luck. To dream of a frightful ghost may denote that others will attempt to impose their will upon you, and the only way to overcome them is to stay and be vigilant. So if you're in a dream and there's a ghost that's trying to scare you, they say that it means that someone will try to, force you to do something or impose their will upon you, and you have to stay strong and resist. To speak to a ghost in a dream or frightened the dreamer. Okay, so if the ghost speaks to you and frightens you, there may be seen as a warning that you might be pressured to take part in a scheme or activities that go against your principles. Okay, so that's kind of the same thing. If a widower or a widow has a romantic dream involving their ghostly departed spouse, this indicates that a love has survived the grave. However, it is said that when elderly or gravely ill people begin to experience recurring dreams about the deceased spouse or relatives who are dead, this is a sign of death being near. So usually it's the ghosts or the spirits or the energies or the familiar, images coming back to lure you into the spiritual realm because you're near physical death. So. Also, if you dream of a ghost who is haunting you, look to your finances. Get your finances in order, or make sure you keep an eye on your money. So many people try to contact ghosts through seances, which is, by the way, made very popular in America during like the Edwardian and Victorian era. A lot of them were scams, but a lot of them, were forms of entertainment, or a lot of people were losing loved ones that they didn't get to say goodbye to back in those days. So like during the wars and things like that. So they wanted to find a way to have closure. So a lot of people would perform seances in their parlors. And that's why I put this picture from this coloring book that I did in here because this looks like one of the parlors that they would do a seance in. I've done many seances, well, makeshift seances with the spirit board and apps on phones and such or whatever. So that's not new to me. I can tell you what I have witnessed was very strange. So I know that there is something to it. And in this very room that I film in, I have to get power from outside of the room because I've done so much communicating in this room that it fried the breaker in this room, and I'd have to call an electrician. And this is a brand new house, so I had to call the electrician to come and fix it. I think, but I have never done that. So I kind of like having it like this as a reminder of how, how powerful it is when you start to communicate with spirits, energies, and stuff like that. It's just a reminder to me because it's like, oh, every day that I come in here, when I come up here, it's like, oh, no lights. And then I remember, oh, okay. Spells and magic objects to communicate. Okay, so the Ouija board, of course, is one of the magic objects that people use. Pendulums, okay. Symbols in nature, birds. A lot of people used to take symbols in nature a long time ago as indicators of their deceased loved one speaking to them. In the ancient times, there was lots of omens of death or deceased loved ones, so that they used animals, nature, signs and natures. So y'all have seen this book many times, the Victorian Book of the Dead. They treat death almost as a ghost. They call the specter of death, or so death is almost described as a ghost in ancient times, and also in near modern times. But in the Victorian era, when they wrote poetry or when they wrote their own ghost stories, it was mostly death depicted as a ghost or like a looming spirit. So a lot of times spirits and ghosts are interchanged as entities. They don't have to be a human. They can be spirits, ghosts. But my experience is I've experienced both non-human and human spirits. So I feel like that's the difference between some of these energies. Some were never human. Some are human. Some are just energies that have a specific frequency. Okay. So I wanted to suggest a book to you guys. And this is the Element Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Hauntings. And y'all know Amazon probably has all these books. So I will put the book list after the video because I didn't know which books I was going to grab. And so this goes into I'll see if I can find it on PDF and put it up for y'all. This goes into every sort of, it even goes into iron. Folklore has it that iron has played a curious role in witchcraft, sorcery, and the supernatural. It is thought to protect against witches, sorcerers, demons, and other evil entities. So if you think about what iron represents, it could represent a metal made of certain things or a planet. So it says iron is a popular metal for making amulets, which to ward off danger, bad luck, and the evil eye. Iron amulets were worn by ancient Babylonians and Assyrians in the belief that it would enhance their virility. Oh, Assyrian men would advance their virility, while women rubbed themselves with iron powder in order to attract men. They were trying to magnetize themselves. I guess it would, depending on how the iron was used, would magnetize or demagnetize yourself, making you a human diode, which is, scientific. There we go. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, they will put like iron guards against evil, but why? So there's always a lot of scientific explanations to old superstitions or supernatural superstitions. So incubus, those type of ghosts or demons that attack you in your sleep sexually. Then we have, let's see, I'll get a good one. Ew. Wow. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna find something having to do with ghosts. Level of existence. Okay. I'm reading about level of existence. Many esoteric teachings propound the idea of a series of worlds or graduations of beings. For example, the so-called theosophical planes is one particular version of this. Another is the tantric theme of chakras, which is associated with an ascending series of states of consciousness, accumulating in the absolute reality located either at or above the crown chakra. So these planes are referred to in esoteric literature, often up to 7, but it is perhaps simplest to refer to 3: physical, astral, and spiritual. So beings on these higher planes or planes that are on different levels could also manifest particles in light to make you see apparitions or ghosts or things like that. Because I know I've experienced, when I was probably in third or fourth grade, an ethereal looking being with like a lion's face and like a human's body, and the whole thing was flaming. It's like it looked like it was glowing and it was on fire, and it just appeared in the middle of the hallway when I was like trying to go to the restroom, and it just stood there just glowing like, and it was a little scary, but it wasn't trying to harm me. But what I knew was that it was just showing me its self. I don't know. And when I saw that, I was like, wow. And I just went back to bed. I had to hold it till the morning. Like, I'm not going back over there. So I don't think that was a ghost. What I feel that was, a lot of people would have said that was a ghost. I said it was a ghost up until I learned more and about different levels of spiritual beings and angels and whatnot. And I feel that was one of the forms of one of the different beings on a higher level. You seen that one before, but without the fire? Well, it was very dark, so maybe it had the fire because there was no light. I don't know. Mine had fire. But I'm a water sign, so I don't know if that means anything, if that has anything to do with it. So this is a good book. It has all that you probably will ever need to know about the supernatural, ghost hunting, and it speaks in layman's terms, so you won't have any problems understanding it. Great for symbolism. Okay. Now, let's go to one of the most haunted cities in America. New Orleans ghosts. Now, I definitely plan on taking me a good old, ooh, somebody signed it. I got the author signed. I got the author edition. Oh. I'm definitely going to New Orleans, and I'm going on a haunted tour sometime. soon. But there's so many stories and people taking photos of just like, their trip, and they have the photos, or when they look back on the photos, they always see ghosts or, orbs or strange things in their photos that they didn't notice while they were taking the photos. So one of the most haunted cities in America because of so much hurricanes, slavery, just Native American, um, just so much, lots of violence. But I love New Orleans. I will probably be visiting there soon. So, very, very good ghost stories if you ever want some good ones. I'm going to read some of one of them. Let me see if I can find a good one. We all know about La Mansion de Lorelei, or Lorelei, whatever, from America's American Horror Story. So I'm not going to read that one. Let's find a short one. Let's see. You seen that one before? Okay, I'm going to read one called Penelope because it's short. This one is called Penelope. Not the lady from Criminal Minds, but Penelope. In 1832, Dr. Joseph A. Tricot built a classic French Quarter domicile. The gorgeous home is important to us because it houses the very active ghost of the grandniece Penelope Tricot, who was the victim of an accident which claimed her life in 1874. Hapless Penelope lost her footing on the third stair and tumbled to her death from the third floor with a broken neck. You can tell I haven't read this book. Penelope's tragedy so affected the elderly physician that he sold his home shortly after the fatal mishap. As fate would have it, Penelope's demise was not the end of her activities in the Bourbon Street mansion. Interestingly enough, this author became aware of Penelope through a conversation with a young lady of his acquaintance, Miss Daphne Lee. I mentioned my project, New Orleans Ghosts. Okay, so the writer is telling the story. I related several stories. She listened to my tales with interest. Then she asked me what I knew about Penelope. Despite my extensive efforts to find a record the Crescent City's ghosts had, I had to confess my ignorance. She then related the following story, which impelled the investigation, which resulted in this story. Okay, so this is the lady's story. In the beginning of June 1990, Miss Lee sought employment in the Tricot House, which is now a restaurant featuring authentic Creole cuisine and live entertainment. She was successful in her quest for employment. While sitting in the upstairs business office, filling out her tax forms, the light began to blink on and off. The manager, Calvin Sinclair, notices her surprise, and told her that the flickering lights were Penelope's way of telling Miss Lee hello and welcome. He then went on to explain Penelope's status as the resident ghost and a few anecdotes about her antics. Okay, so it just basically says she does footsteps, causes lights to flicker on and off, causing an electrical annoyance. That's why I don't have lights in here, because I have lots of stuff in here. Creating cold temperatures, allowing people get goosebumps, I guess sucking the heat out of the air. The ghosts are really representatives of some type of existence beyond the grave, and they retain vestiges of what they were in the physical lives. So they kind of don't really remember a lot. They just remember what they did. They gather energy. So it's kind of like what I was talking about. It's just like a memory of atoms and physical particles that remember that it once used to be here and it once used to walk over here and it once used to do that. And it's drawing more energy to manifest itself physically in some sort of way. So that's what I feel, because we would light candles in order to allow the energies to have some sort of, energy to grasp. But sometimes they like that electricity even more. You said your music will randomly stop. I know, right? I'll tell y'all one thing that happened to me like recently. I have to ignore it sometimes, like, because like it's kind of freaking. Sometimes you just gotta be like, I didn't see that. Let me just go ahead and go about my business. Yeah, sometimes the TV will just turn off by itself. It's not overheated because I can turn it right back on. The remote is not like stuck in between anything because it's sitting on the table. The TV will just turn off for no reason. Like, time to go off. Quick. It's not on a timer. I see you, Miss Leona, and I'm reading all your comments. You said you be ignoring and I feel like they catch on. Oh yeah. That's when they start doing a lot more when you try to ignore. So I just start talking like, yeah, why y'all turn off the TV? I don't like what was on. I just joke. But I have a sense of humor, so I'm like, it doesn't bother me. But y'all know I got kids, so it's like sometimes like we have to like I have to like distract and pretend like it was something else. But that's because my kids didn't grow up with these type of books. Do y'all remember these from book fair back in the old days, in the 80s and the early 90s? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Well, I got the book that has all 3 volumes in one. They didn't grow up reading scary stories. Okay, we did. They didn't have the Hirsch song. So when I was young, I had already experienced ghosts. So this was just like, wow. I would notice a lot of similarities in some of these, because a lot of these are old retold stories with different names and stuff. But I would notice a lot of similarities in some ghost stories that I've heard before. And I love the artwork. So, like, look at this face. I mean, can you really? The ink drawings. Some of these stories, I don't know if I want to read it, but I'll read you the Hirsch song because it's like one of the most famous from this book. My favorite. Don't you ever laugh. I know it's a song, but I'm just going to sing it. I'm going to read it. Don't you ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up in a big white sheet, from your head down to your feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you up with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week. Then your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. The worms play pinnacle in your snout. Got my candelabra so that it's, scary. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose. They eat the jelly between your toes. A big green worm with rolling eyes crawls in your stomach and out your eyes. Your stomach turns a slimy green and pus pours out like whipping cream. You spread it on a slice of bread, and that's what you eat when you are dead. Disgusting. But I had this memorized. Like, I remember it. I say 90%. And they even had the little music down here if you wanted to try to sing it. You read one of the Goosebumps stories? I think this was way better or more. I wouldn't say better. I would just say this is scarier than Goosebumps. But they do have a movie based on this. I saw it on Netflix or something. I don't know if it's on Netflix, but it is on cable. My next book, America's Haunted Houses. So this book, and it's by Hans Holzer. This book has not all, but a lot of the haunted houses in America. And I want to show you this story, The Ghost at the Altar. So, this is about a church, and there was, I guess somebody was trying to get married, but they didn't make it to their wedding. Even churches can be haunted by ghosts. Did you know that? So basically, this church is haunted, and it's a wooden church, so it's super old. Ooh. It caught on fire. After a while, priest admitted to the church that I meant no harm to the reputation of the good name of the church. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm trying to get the story. Hold on, because I didn't read the whole thing yet. Oh, so the priest knocked over some candles or something, and the church started burning, and they were mad at him, and so he told them why he knocked over the candles, because he saw a ghost on the altar, like, up at the church they have like these altars. So he knocked down something and like started burning up some of the church, and the ghost of the departed priest himself, a priest had died in there. That was a ghost who had also been a painter. So they did the research and found out that a priest did die there. He used to be a painter. And he painted a lot of this stuff near the altar. And so that's why he's hanging around there. And he scared a living priest that started a fire. So the haunted rocking chair. Oh no, I'm getting rid of that thing. That's, what the freakiest thing in scary movies are? That rocking chair that starts rocking by itself. See, I'm fine with a Ouija board, but if that chair start going by itself, I'm throwing it out. Sorry. Like, no, that's a little bit too much. This book has lots of ghost stories, like about the houses. So basically, it's about the houses. It gives you the history of it and the ghost stories that go with it. So if you like reading them, it's a good book. Oh, here's a bougie ghost right here, y'all. The Ghost of Fifth Avenue. I'm not even going to read that one. So y'all get the picture. The ghost at, see if they have the Amityville house. It's like one of the most famous haunted houses. Probably do. Lots of haunted taverns and bars. They always have like these old haunted looking houses and family I would not have, like, if I had an old historical house, I would not keep the portraits of the people that used to live there. Y'all gotta go somewhere else. Y'all gotta go to the basement or something. So I would have to like change those portraits because I don't like strange people looking at me. A lot of those historical houses, like if you try to buy one, oh, the owner only has one request. If you leave the house owner or the original owner of the house's portrait up, like some people are like that because of the historical. Like a lot of people like to go and tour it and stuff like that. And you can actually make money on those sort of houses that are really old and have like a like historical marker on it. You could actually open that your house up on the weekend and like allow people to tour it for a fee if you want. That's probably what I'm gonna do when I get old. Find me one of them old houses like that. And be like, yeah, okay, y'all come see, go walk through this house for $15, $11. That would be fun, but I don't know if I would live there. I'll probably just buy it and like film there or rent it out or do like a B&B breakfast, bed and breakfast, and people can stay there. But I probably have my own separate house too. So I know it's not a lot of you guys in here because this is only for the Patreon members, and a lot of them will watch it later. But I definitely wanted to go back into the symbolism of ghosts and a lot of the scientific research that has been done. So a lot of people are asking me how to get rid of ghosts. I always say play Michael Jackson, but there's some truth to that. It's if you play a certain type of frequency, it will like basically dispel the ghost's particles. So besides calling Ghostbusters, I'm reading out of my journal now. Besides calling Ghostbusters, I would suggest a few different ways. Asking the ghost to leave, please leave. If that doesn't work, because sometimes they can't leave, they don't know where to go, and they're just so used to, it could be just like a residual haunting. The energy is just used to the pattern. So if it's not an intelligence that can't follow instructions, asking the ghost to leave might not work. You could sage, that might help dispel some of the energies. You can play chanting music that also creates a frequency to break it up. Some people don't like, they don't know what to play. So maybe you can find a chant or something like that that would disrupt the energies. I also suggest sound frequencies. They have like these little machines that will change the frequency, or you can find something on YouTube or whatever that plays the frequency that may dispel that energy, bring in more positive energies. Okay. I saw a movie a while back. I don't remember the name of it, but there was these paranormal investigators who used that form of frequencies like through giant speakers to get rid of like an extremely violent ghost or something in his haunted house. And it would, hold on, y'all. My cat's trying to get in, and I don't want y'all to think it's a ghost knocking. Hold on. Come on, kitty. Come on. Oh my gosh. There was no cat there. There's no cat. Guess it was a ghost. Okay, I don't know if y'all heard it, but I thought it was my cat knocking. But the cat's not there. So I guess because I'm talking about ghosts, they think they all like weird stuff start to happen. Okay, so when I talk about getting rid of them, not when I'm others part, when I start talking about how to get rid of them, they like, wait a minute. I'm not trying to get rid of you. I'm just trying to tell other people. Okay, so yeah, there was a movie where they used these giant speakers and they would blast this frequency that would like blow up the ghost particles. So, and it would take forever for the particles to try to get back together. It would just buy them a lot of time, but that eventually the particles will come back together. So you had time to get out, but you have to hurry. Strange, right? You think you read one? Oh, okay. You talk about Goosebumps. That's old. So I also read you about seances. How people use seances to try to communicate with their dead loved ones. Sometimes they would not be communicating with their dead loved ones. Sometimes you have to be careful because some energies may pretend to be like a dead loved one, but it could be something else. Just accessing your memories and things like that. So you might think it's someone that you know, but at the same time, it could just be accessing memories that you have. So if you always want to test the ghost by seeing if it's really someone, which it probably may not be, you always ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Sort of like you use the app and you tell your family happy birthday, actually their birthday. Wow. You got to be careful. Yeah, so just make sure you don't give too much information or think about too much because it can pick up on energies and thoughts. So like, it's like, when is such and such's birthday? Maybe just think of a different date instead of the real birthday. And see if it gives the birthday or the real date. I think I saw that on a movie somewhere. But that's also true if they're, just reading your thoughts. Okay. Can a ghost touch you? I have felt lots of touches. Can a ghost bruise you? I have woken up with bruises. So can all those things, like, I've definitely experienced the physical side of energies. So I say yes, they can touch you, but it's not gonna, like, it's not hurtful. I haven't experienced anything that has been super painful rather than an unexplainable bruise or scratch or something when I wake up. I used to live, every house that I've lived in, I guess it's just me that's attracting them because but a lot of the land that I live on is probably haunted too. Born in a haunted hospital over a cemetery. One of my childhood homes, definitely over old Native American ground because I used to find arrowheads in the background, and less than a mile from my home was a Native American burial ground. One of the most haunted houses that I lived in. Would see shadow figures in the hallway. Mirrors would just go black. Lots of weird occurrences happening in that house. Just weird, creepy stuff that was also witnessed by my younger brother. So it wasn't just me witnessing it. My younger brother also saw a lot of those things as well. Without me asking if he saw, he was just told, he would just say what he saw. So definitely haunted. And another house that I lived in was, after I had gotten married and we were having a house built, or we were buying our first home as a married couple. And well, I wasn't buying it, I just showed up with my boxes and my bags. But not doing any research, not consulting me, of course. My husband just put the down payment on the house, didn't do any research, even though the place or the neighborhood has the word plantation in the name. That should have told you from the start. And then our house was in front of a creek. So behind our house in our backyard was a creek. So water sources are a big draw for the paranormal because it's running water and it attracts electromagnetic energies. And in that water, there was like all these alligators. So we had alligators back there. We had wild boars because there was a forest back there. So we have like all these animals. We have running water on an old slave plantation. It wasn't like a small plantation. This was like really big. And so the neighborhood was big enough um, for the whole. It was huge. I think it was Stephen F. Austin who originally bought the land and owned that land and called it a plantation, and then it was sold to two sisters. Um, and then they kind of like chopped it up and sold it off individually. But the neighborhood that we lived in was Sienna Plantation. If y'all have heard of that. So I always had some weird dreams, saw shadow figures all through there. I always felt very negative. There was a lot of bad energy in that. I don't know. Kids would be picking up on things and just saying weird things all the time that didn't really make sense. And I would record it like on video and then listen to it a lot later. And it was basically prophecy or things that were to come true. So I'm like, what? But luckily I moved and we got another house. This house that I live in right now is actually a couple of miles from my childhood home that was built over Indian burial ground. So I know a lot of this land that I live, like where I live, has that history. But this house is not haunted like that. Well, Sasha says it is, but well, I know it is because this room is probably the most haunted area in the house. But I'm used to it. I grew up in haunted houses. I worked in funeral homes. I mean, I've basically everywhere I've gone, except for a few apartments, or townhomes or high rises, have been haunted. So I'm just like, whatever. It's like, you can't really escape ghosts because they're everywhere. You can't escape energy because energy never dies. Some people are scared of experiencing things on different planes. But if you are highly sensitive and you are into that type of information and knowledge and you're seeking it out, you're going to attract it to you, like energy and magnetic energy, because that's what you're seeking through, law of attraction or law of correspondence. You are going to attract what you seek, what you think about, what you learn about. So if you are afraid of ghosts or spirits, do not go too deep into trying to contact them or learn about them too much. If you're afraid of them, you may attract, but at the same time, the more you learn about something, the less you fear. So I'm just putting that out there as a choice. Or if you're not going to learn as much as you can learn to not fear, and you're only going to learn a little bit and live in fear, that might not be too good. So I guess if you're here, you're probably on that same frequency as I am, and you don't have that type of fear. So good for y'all. So I have my fake candle, but we're going to pretend it's real. Another way that you can also bring spirits and ghosts into your house, like let's say you live in a brand new house, it's not haunted, you haven't had any experience with ghosts or anything like that, is like thrifted objects you get at antique stores, thrift shops. I love thrift shopping, so my house is probably haunted. I picked this up. I know this is old. It's like this old silver looking bathroom powder jar. You remember the old days? They would have like powder puffs and they would put powder in their jar, and it's like now they don't do that anymore. But I think this is an old powder jar. Well, I don't know what this was, but it's kind of old. I bought it, thrifted, and I'm going to use it for something. This doesn't look super old, but it is thrifted. This would make, you put a little tea light here in a bowl here, and you can burn like potpourri or oils or something in here, and it's just like, it makes the house smell good. But it's brass, so I'm pretty sure it's not super old because it doesn't look tarnished enough. But you can get old stuff from like this candelabra is old. I'm pretty sure it's not super old, but it looks old. I got this at the thrift store. It looks kind of antiquish, and these move around so you can move the candles. But a lot of stuff comes from like estate sales, or when people die, all their stuff just goes up for sale, and you be buying the deceased's property. And I've bought a lot of stuff. I bought a few items from a couple of estate sales, not because I wanted the haunted item to be haunted, but because I actually like the stuff. But a lot of people say, "Do you cleanse your stuff before you?" Sometimes I do, depending on what it is. Most of the time, I don't. I don't know why I don't. I just don't feel like I'm intimidated, or like if something bad is going to happen. I just feel like, oh well, it doesn't bother me. And I feel like a lot of people don't do the same thing, cleansing things either, because either they don't know about it or it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother me. It bothers some people and they cleanse everything. But to me, I think experiencing certain things makes life a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. So I'm gonna wind this up, and I'm so glad all of you showed up who are notified. And if you're watching this later on, I'm gonna have the book list of all the little books that I mentioned somewhere in the comment section on the Patreon. But until I put that up, if you have some other books you would like to add in there, let me know, and I'll try to get them in there. But if you have some that are like that you want to share, just send me a link or something like that. But at the same time, I'll just also send you, I'll post the names of these books, and I'll try to find some links to them so y'all can just click on it if y'all really want to buy them. But that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed. Sprinkle, sprinkle. If y'all have any questions before I go, y'all put them in the comments right now, in the live comments. I'm going to check back on Patreon and see what y'all are doing here. Okay. 1 second. Okay. I see a few y'all. All right, so y'all have a question? No, not yet? Okay. No questions? Great. So I'm going to be putting the next prompt up of what you guys are going to put in your paranormal journal. Now, I guess I can let you guys, since y'all showed up, I guess I can let you guys vote, or whichever one gets the most mentions, we'll do the next. Okay, so the next prompt, I'll give you 2 or 3 choices. Seeing the future or the past, like deja vu, psychic phenomena, seeing the future or the past, like past lives, seeing future things and then having deja vu, or just being very like, oh my gosh, I knew that was going to happen. Y'all want to write about that, or do you want to write about? Let's see, I wrote down. Okay, do y'all want to write about like being clairaudient, or like hearing, or seeing, clairvoyant, seeing the ghosts or the dead, or communicating with the dead? I don't know. Or do y'all want to talk about? Write about. What was my other? UFOs and aliens. Communicating with the dead, like clairaudient, clairvoyant. It could be spirits, ghosts, demons, whatever. That you can be communicating with. But you want to write about that, or do you want to write about UFOs, or do you want to write about future and past? You might say aliens. Okay. Alien experiences, because I got those too. Mm-hmm. Communicating with the dead. Mm-hmm. Some movies combine the two. But some movies be combining it all together. Okay, so you said communicating today. I have aliens. Okay, so we have two different topics, but who wants to be the tiebreaker? Y'all mention some more. Aliens, the dead. Okay, we got two. We got the dead. We also have seeing the past or the future. Like you've experienced seeing your past life, or you saw something happen in the past that really happened, or the future. So y'all want to do the dead, hearing the dead, seeing the dead, talking to the dead, like the sixth sense. I kind of touched on that on the ghost story when I was like walking down the hallway of the hospital and I could see a bunch of people in the hallway. And if I had just spoken with one of them, I probably would have been able to communicate. But I was too young and shy to even try to speak to anybody, living or dead. But it was just like on the sixth sense, you see their injuries. It's weird, especially if they're in the hospital. So I guess we'll talk about that. The ghosts kind of lead to it. Anyway, okay. So I hope y'all are having fun doing the journaling. It's kind of creative, right? If y'all have pictures y'all want to share, I think I put up an email that y'all can send it to, and if not, I'll put it up on the Patreon. If y'all want to share your pictures with me, and I'll just look through them. I used to use a ghost app to, like, it has the voice on there, and it'll say the word. If he's like, "Is there anybody here?" And I might just say pick a random word out of just random words, but it worked pretty good. I also made a deck of cards that were also used for spirit communication. I had them available somewhere and I forgot where I had them made at, but you could actually order them. I have to go find the links, but probably take a while because it was years ago. But I will definitely put that as the next prompt. I'm gonna actually put that prompt up tonight. Y'all can go ahead and start working on it tonight. If I have time. If not, it'll be up tomorrow. But since y'all are here, the next prompt is going to be communicating with the dead. Have you ever had a dream or communicated with a dead person or a ghost or deceased loved one and exchanged information? Was it intelligent information? Was it true? Blah, 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 blah. Go into it, write about it. If you have pictures of that person you want to include in there that you knew, how you felt about the situation, what insight it gave you, go ahead and do that. Instead of typing out the journal prompts, I might just do a quick short video and put the prompts up like this. Sometimes if I don't have time to type, but I'm going to go ahead and put the prompt up and then maybe do a little video explaining it later. But definitely go ahead. Oh, I forgot to show y'all before I go. Shameless plug. My fountain pens are in, so these are up on the Level Up stationery store, a section of my store now that has stationery. And you can get your own fountain pen. Look at this. I will also include a ink cartridge because what it comes with is a refillable, like syringe type. You just unscrew this. And if you have like a bottle of ink, if you're extra fancy and already has stuff like this, you just stick it in the ink and kind of like fill it up or whatever. Some have syringes you can do this with, but I think you just like suck it up like that. But y'all know the regular old ink cartridges that they sell at like Office Depot or Walmart where they have fountain pens. You just stick it in like this. Oops, that's not the part. You just stick it in like this. Well, that's the cartridge will look when you get it. It's dark blue ink. You can probably buy some black ink if you want. Cartridges, they're like $5 at Office Depot, or you can get some online. I'll probably start selling some online shortly, but you can definitely find them. It's I think it's called the thin fountain pen. It's the ink for the thin fountain pen. It's the normal size you can probably pretty much get everywhere. So it is cool. They write beautifully. I left my other one downstairs, so I don't have the one that I usually write with. But it's a heavy pen. It has a really pretty pattern on it. Great gift. Sorry, y'all. My lipstick. Great gift for anybody. A writer, journaler, journalist, person that just likes to write, someone who writes a lot at work. I just love writing with fountain pens. So the symbolic meaning of it, the ink comes from above and flows down onto the paper, and it just, it's almost like bringing inspiration from higher realms onto your paper, into your thoughts, into your ideas through your hand and through your energy. And it's also the flow or the fountain of the pen. It's flow, ebb and flow. So that's why I like fountain pens. Have you ever had a dream where you're like a ghost? Is that astral projection? I've never had a dream that I was like a ghost, but like I guess if you dream of yourself flying, that's very similar. Because like physically humans can't fly, so I would kind of say that would be the closest that I've been. But I've never seen myself as a ghost. Like um I've seen versions of myself in former lives that don't look like me, but similar, but not exactly like. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that counts. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.